multiple different cases of physical attacks. We were locked in cells, solitary confinement. They denied us visits for 2 years. They denied us religious services for 2 years. They denied us haircuts at the barbershop for a year. It was insane, the type of treatment we were getting.
Willie D. Live.
So I think that some of these things, but we need, like you said, together. Like, not just though, but the thing that I bring to the table that's a unique aspect is because Republicans, in Texas, that's where we're at. They love to throw you in jail and throw away the key, and they don't like to invest in you or anything. And so all the men and these guys that I was telling you about earlier, most of them never been in trouble with the law, professionals, military guys, whatever. They all got a taste of federal prison. And let me tell you something, none of them liked it, and they all hated it. So you're going to have men that are conservatives or Republicans, and there's about 1,500 of us that have a story to go back and tell, and we're in the process of putting some of those stories together. But we're going to go back to the Republicans and say, hey, this has got to change. And so Democrats are usually on board with justice reform. So if we can just pull a handful of people from the Republican Party with the backing of President Trump or the Senate or whoever it is we got to get the legislation through, then I feel like we can make some transformational change in the way we legislate from Congress. We can change some of the laws. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the ghost dope. Like, I know guys in federal prison that are doing 25, 30 years for
dope
for one phone call. And it's ridiculous. So you could say, well, Shane was selling me drugs and he was selling me X amount of drugs for the last 2 years, this much per week, and the feds will take that and they'll say, well, you multiply that times 52 weeks times 2 years, so that's 104 weeks, and then they charge me with whatever that amount was, and they never even got any drug. And so it's all hearsay. And like if I assault somebody and I get taken to court, I have the right to confront my accuser. But in the ghost dope situation, the dope should be your accuser. So you should be able to say, well, where's the dope? Here it is. It's in this bag. This is how much it weighs. This is the purity of it. And that dope would be testifying as a witness against you. But in that situation, it's not even, you can't confront your accuser because it's this hypothetical that the federal government is. So we could legislate our way out of it. And then I think another important aspect of it is the policy, because the policy dictates how the officers interact with the inmates and the things that you're doing for the people in prison. And I think instead of just being more justice, like for instance in Texas, it used to be called the Texas Department of Corrections because they wanted to correct the behavior. So when you get out, you've learned, okay, I can't do this because and I have these tools to cope. When I get in this frame of mind, I want to go hustle. Now I've learned a trade, or I've got this degree, so now I can go to school and go work in this field. But then Texas changed it to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. All they are interested in is when they throw you in jail, they want to extrapolate justice from you. And it doesn't matter. They cut, and then they cut out all the education. Then they cut out all the extra food you were getting and all that. So now people are just doing time. They're just sitting in there they don't care if you go to school. They don't care if you do anything. When your time's up, then we're going to let you out. And somebody that just sat in there, that's all they did. They didn't change anything. You didn't change their heart. You didn't change their mind. You didn't change their spirit. So they're still the same person that they went in as, and then they come back out and they move back in next door to us. Now our kids are exposed to it. Now our wife's exposed to it. Now our church and our community is exposed to it, and nothing has changed. So I think we've got to reimagine the justice system. And I think it's going to be an interesting perspective coming from, there are a lot, not all the January 6th guys are white guys. There's black guys, Middle Eastern, Hispanic, or whatever. But we're going to be coming from a different angle than is typically sought. That's seen coming. We're going to be coming right at the Republicans. We're going to say, this is unacceptable, what we endured. And not only that, but the men we left behind in there, it's unacceptable. And some of the things that I endured in there, I wouldn't let my dog live like that. I've been in the cell and killed 250 cockroaches in a matter of like 12 hours. I've seen rats. I've seen, our sinks quit running. Our sink in the last spot I was at in Terre Haute, Indiana, the sink wouldn't turn off. And because it was loud at night, I would put a sock over the sink and tie it around the sink so it would run through the sock and quiet the splashing in the sink, because it was like water torture in there. But after a day or two, that sock would turn like the color of this carpet, like rust red. And so that's the water we're drinking in there. And I'm like, there's people getting this stuff called H. pylori, which is from fecal matter in your food or in your water. And so there's a lot, and that's just specific things, but there's a lot of things, and that's just treatment wise, in the DC jail, we were locked in solitary confinement for months on end. When I got arrested here in Houston, they put me in FDC Houston. I got put in a cell for 11 days and didn't leave the cell. Like, I got arrested off the street and they put me in a cell and didn't open that door for 11 days.
How did they catch you? Well, we know this, we saw you on the video, but how did they track you down?
Yeah, so there was a group called Sedition Hunters. We called them professional snitches, but they took the videos that everybody saw, and they used facial recognition software, and they compared those videos to Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all that. And then when they would get a hit, a match, then they would go look and they'd be like, oh, he's got a hand tattoo or he's got a face tattoo or whatever. And then they would identify him, and then they would send the information to the FBI, and then they would get a reward. And then here they come running down on people.
But here's the thing. You didn't appear to be concerned about getting caught. Because you were all on social media selling memorabilia. You were selling J6 memorabilia.
After the fact, yeah.
Like, so it didn't seem like you. Didn't seem like you. See, you kind of remind me of somebody who might celebrate the anniversary of J6. Do you do that?
I will celebrate it in the aspect of honoring the people that died on January the 6th.
Okay.
I will do that, but I would never glorify the violence. We were involved in what I believe would call a Fedsurrection. I believe it was orchestrated by multiple different groups and different people. It is a historic. I mean, it cost me 4 years of my life. I watched those men suffer in that jail, civilian men, not just somebody with the criminal involved background like myself, but I watched these men lose wives. I watched them lose businesses, homes. I watched their families turn on them. I watched their kids testify against them at trial. I watched them get crushed. I watched these same people who had CIA clearance, Green Beret, that hunted bin Laden after 9/11, and multiple tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. I watched the same people that they used to work for. I watched them crush these men, and it was just something that, I was honored to suffer alongside those men. I feel like God specifically placed me in that situation because I was a good sounding board for those men, because I had been in prison before. I had been in county jail before. So whenever the guards, because we were attacked by the guards in D.C. and persecuted in there. But
physically attacked?
Oh, yeah, for sure, physically. Yeah, multiple different cases of physical attacks. We were locked in cells, solitary confinement. They denied us visits for 2 years. They denied us religious services for 2 years. They denied us haircuts at the barbershop for a year. It was insane, the type of treatment we were getting. But so I was a good sounding board to say, this is kind of normal for jail. Like, the food is bad, right? And they're like, this is horrible. We can't eat this. And I'm like, that's normal jail food. Like, you can't, that's not a big deal. Now, them not letting you go to the chapel, or them not letting you get communion, or them not letting everybody else is getting visits. Why can't we get visits? Because they had labeled us domestic terrorists. They even called us white supremacists and all this other stuff. And it was just like, and we're in a jail that's 99% black. The inmates are black from D.C. locally, and then the guards are 99% black. And so how do you think that is as white guys, or we had Middle Eastern, Hispanic, black guys with us too, but going all the media blasting that out over the airwaves, and then you throw us in that jail in that environment. How do you think those guards treated us? It wasn't good.